So there's different variations of, groups when you're in a bar, different situations, and they can all be treated a little bit differently. If you're approaching girls and they're in a three, and there's one that you want, and it's the girl on the end, it's quite easy because you can just talk to the girl on the end, and the other two, after a while, will just start to speak to each other, and so you don't really have to engage the whole group. So if it's this girl or this girl, no problem. If it's the girl in the middle, you actually need to talk to the whole group. So you need to talk to the whole group, spread your attention to each one. It's very important, if I want to talk to the girl in the middle, that this girl likes me and this girl likes me, so that when I want to talk to her, they don't drag her away. To get her out of the group, I'm going to need to use some tricks, and they can be used, if you want to isolate a girl in any situation. So I could say, hang on, what color are your eyes? Come into the light, let me see better, or something like that. Some excuse to get her out. What shoes? Let me see, check out her shoes, her watch, something like that, to move her out of the group to here, and then I'm going to move her away so it's just me and her, and the rest of the girls can talk to each other. If it's 3 girls, 4 girls, 5 girls, it's all the same, because when you talk to one, the rest of the group can, hang out with each other, and it's not going to be a problem. The hardest is actually when it's 2 girls. If you're approaching 2 girls and they're friends, I can't just say, okay, let's go, leave her alone, because if they're good friends, girls like to stick together. So I need to talk to both of the girls, be nice to them, but give most of my attention to the one I like. A bit involve the other one sometimes, so I'm asking, where she's from. Oh, do you guys know each other from university or whatever it is? Bring her into the conversation from time to time, so she doesn't get bored, so that she likes me, so that she doesn't drag her friend away. If you get the impression that they want to talk to each other, they haven't seen each other for a long time, it might be the situation to just get her number and then leave them to it. If you've got a friend, then you can, both talk to them, that's no problem. But in the best situation, you would be talking to this one and the friend leaves and, goes to the bathroom or something like that to give you a chance to talk. If she does that, then you're in a fantastic situation. If not, and it's 2 girls alone and they won't leave each other, it's either best to, if you're alone, you're not with a friend, it's probably best to just go for the number. But if it's 3 girls, 4 girls, 5 girls, then you can always just talk to one and leave the rest to talk to themselves. Use get an IOI from a distance, or just approach the girl on the side, or talk to the whole group and take the one that you want out of the group. Let's talk a little bit about wingmanship. So ideally, if you're speaking to 2 girls, you're going to be with your buddy and you're going to follow a few rules. So when you're speaking as a group, come and meet the girls, Alex. It's very good if one guy starts the interaction, goes to speak to both of the girls, and then his friend comes in. When his friend comes in, he shouldn't pay too much attention to his friend, get into a private conversation, but also they shouldn't be talking as a group. It's very important that very quickly the guys peel off and each take one girl. So we might be speaking as a group, and then I'll say something like, oh, those are nice earrings that you've got, and I start talking to this girl, and at the same time Alex starts talking to his girl, and we have a situation where we're not in front of the girls anymore, we're to the side, I'm facing my girl, she starts to turn around and just be facing me, he's with his girl and she's facing him. And what this means is, if we start having a boring part of the conversation where I'm like, and it becomes really boring, she looks at her friends, have a look at these 2, they're having a lot of fun, so even if our conversation's boring, she doesn't run away, she stays and she stays talking to me. If we're talking as a group and one of the girls gets bored, it's much more easy for her friend to see, and they can drag the other one away. But like this, it can't happen. So remember, don't talk too much as a group. Don't talk too much to the guy that's with you. One of the guys should approach first, and the other one comes in, and then just quickly introduce. And then you want to peel away and take the girl that you're interested in, and he takes the girl that he's interested in. So when I'm out with Alex, it's, you know, has an effect on what the girls think of me by what he says about me. So sometimes in the past he's tried to destroy it, but it's been really funny. So he's introduced me as what?
Well, sometimes I make a big joke out of it, like say, this is Richard, he's like a child murderer who steals child's souls, he's a murderer, don't talk to him, sort of thing, but in a funny way, obviously. Paedophile, child murderer.
Local bender.
Yeah, the local bender one as well. But in a funny way, you remember that, in a funny way.
Like, you know, so he'll say stuff like that, it's happened a few times, but then it's like my chance to turn it around. But that's only when he's like angry with me and wants to annoy me or something. No, it's only when he's being playful. But most of the time, something he does is really good because he's always being silly and joking. But then sometimes I'll leave the girl that I like with him, and I'll, you know, go off to the toilet or go to meet another girl or something for 20 minutes.
Yeah, and then I say
come
just
back,
good things.
And while I'm not there, what do you say?
Rich is such a lovely guy, such a cool guy. Well done for meeting
honest
him.
face. Do that to the camera. That honest, sincere face you do.
1-800. But honestly speaking, that's exactly what I've always done. When you go to the toilet, I'll do the joke stuff first.
Yeah.
When you go to the bathroom, then I'll do like the cool, real stuff. He's such a lovely guy, super genuine, blah blah blah. And then they come back thinking, well, hold on, what just happened? Sort of thing. So it's all cool.
It has a lot more effect when it's someone else talking about you. Obviously, I can't say, oh, hi, I'm a very nice guy. You can't do that. But when Alex does it, people believe it for that reason because it's someone else saying it. But people believe it for another reason because Alex always joking, ha ha ha. And then he's like, no, but in all seriousness.
Yeah. And the serious face.
And he does this serious face and he's talking about me in a nice way. And then he goes back to joking.
Yeah.
But because it's 90% of the time he has this joking face. And then, no, he's like, but really, Richard is really...
Yeah, of course.
And he
it always works. It always works.
And they're like, oh, really? And I come back and they're really...
So they hate you when they meet you because of the stupid jokes. They find it all funny. They come back and they're in love with you.
And I always notice when I come back, it's a lot warmer because of the things that Alex have been saying. So if you have the opportunity with your wingman to just take a minute and have some, you know, some story with an example of a good character trait of his that you can say, then it's going to be really powerful and it's going to help your mate. So that's how to be a good wingman when you're out with someone that you're good friends with.
Very true.
And you all do get more girls if you act like that.
100%.
So we've got the girl that we're interested in, and a lot of guys have this stupid situation where they talk for a minute and the girl's really interested. She, you know, she's sexy, she's maybe had some drinks, and the guy's like, okay, nice speaking to you, give me your number, and runs away. You know, so let's talk a little bit about escalation. When you first approach the girl, you know, the old mystery method thing is you're going to be over your shoulder, you're going to be to the side. And that's true if the girl is very shy, yeah, you can do that. But in most cases, you're going to be quite close, there's going to be music playing, so you might have to lean in from time to time. And we're going to talk about how the touch escalates. Touching with the palm of the hand is always more intense than with the back of the hand. So if I'm talking, they can go all the way down the arm, even to the hand, and even on the front of the leg, the front of the hip, and in this area as well. If she's a girl and she's with her friends or a guy in the group and she doesn't want to show that she's doing too much with you, it's a very good touch to do that hand-to-hand because it's quite intimate, and we can be playing like that, but we can have serious faces and we're just talking like that and no one can see it, but we've got this contact here that is quite intimate, you know. It's something that you don't do with friends. So we've got all of these simple touches with the back of the hand, and then the next kind that you've got is when you're getting a little bit closer, so you're talking in the ear, you're saying something, and you have an opportunity to touch her here, touch her on the head, and also touch her with your leg as you're leaning in. So you've got that full body contact of her all the way like that. In the beginning, your leg's on the outside, and later on, it can even be on the inside, which is way more intimate. In a situation where you've been speaking for some time, you've gone through the preliminary touches, being closer and holding hands, pausing for a minute, having the eye contact, looking at the lips, moving the hair out of the way. All of these things will escalate it. And of course, you've also got playful touches, you know, so with a girl that has her boobs showing, you know, I might take a step back and then someone pushes me and I pretend to touch her, something like this. Or I could have a drink in my hand and I could just be talking to her and I'm drinking my drink, and every time I drink my drink, I'm kind of touching her. And in the beginning, she might think it's by accident, and then she realizes what I'm doing. But I've got this smile, this cheeky face, so I get away with it. You don't want to stay in one place too long as well, so, you know, be here talking like this, and then you can move to the dance floor. You can lead her and walk through like this, or you can hold her hand and walk through. And when you're holding the hand, you can kind of stroke it and touch it in different ways to be more intimate, changing the way that you hold the hand. Finally, when it gets to the point when you're going to kiss her, a few different things that, you know, would make that last possible moment as intense as possible is to kind of hold both hands, to be close, to have the touch now more lingering. It's still soft, but it's maybe lingering and stroking, and you touch her around the neck and around the back of the head, and you're getting closer and closer, and you pause and you're not speaking, and finally you kiss each other. So it's leading up to it smoothly. A lot of guys, they don't touch at all, and they're just thinking about kissing the girl, and then they kind of jump in. It's much nicer to do it in a smooth way. Lots of funny, stupid, playful things as well that I do. We've got this huge glass, but imagine it's the girl's drink, and she's there like that, and I might say, oh, hang on a minute, don't drink it yet, let me just do something. There you go, like this. Here you go, drink, please. Like that. Lots of stupid things like that I do that are quite extreme and playful. Usually get a good reaction. I can get away with it. It's worked every time that I've done it, but maybe you want to play it by ear and not always do it. So that's how you escalate again, starting with touches, you know, from a distance, the back of the hand, moving to the hand, moving to the front of the leg, moving more to be face to face, keeping that solid eye contact, moving the touches from here and then up closer to the face, around the back and in these areas, stepping in closer, having that contact between your legs. And those are the ways you can escalate all the way through the touch to the point where you actually kiss. Hey guys, it's Rich, and in this video I'm going to teach you my very best stuff when it comes to texting girls. It's one of the most common questions I get, and actually the first reaction of mine is that it's the wrong thing for guys to be thinking about. So if you are getting a lot of flaky numbers, I want to tell you first to go back and do some other stuff at the point of getting the number. I'm going to give you some texting tips in a minute, but first I want to talk about when you actually get the number and making sure it's solid. If you want to make the number solid at the time you ask for it, you can do three things. You can talk about things that you can do in future with the girl. You find out that she likes cocktails, going to different clubs, you find out that she likes going to museums, and then you've got ideas of things that you can do together and you can suggest it. The second thing that you should do is ask about her upcoming plans. So if it's Sunday when you meet her, ask what she's doing that week. If you find out that she's going to be really, really busy, you know that it might not be a great idea to invite her on a date by text on Wednesday because she's got a big project or an exam or whatever it might be. The third thing that you can do, and this is the thing that will give you the maximum chance, is actually arrange the date there and then. So you say, what are you doing this week? She says, not very much. You say, why don't we meet on Thursday? She says, yes. You say, okay, cool, let's meet at 7 or 8 o'clock. I'll text you in the afternoon. She says, okay. And you hand her your phone and she gives you the number. That's making it as solid as possible. But let's put that to one side. You want to know texting tips, so let's get right into those. Obviously, it depends a lot on what the girl's responses are. I can't tell you, send these 5 messages with alterations and you'll definitely get the date and definitely get what you want, because you have to respond a little bit to what she's saying. But you can follow a rough framework. First text should be something like this. Let's assume you met her on a Friday night in a bar. I guess that's where most people are meeting up. So you can say something, you can text her on Sunday evening or Monday, and you can say, hey, it was good to meet you. How was the rest of your weekend? It's a very simple message, very short, and it differentiates from other guys that are saying, it was great to meet you, my name's Bob from the bar, would you like to go for a drink with me? It's a very simple way to kind of get an easy response. And what you're looking for is you're looking for her response. If she just says, yeah, good, thanks,
That's kind of a cold response. If she gives a longer response where she said, yeah, I had a great weekend, my sister came to town and I did this and this, yeah, it was awesome to meet you too, smiley face, and how was your weekend? Then you know that she's more interested. If you're getting girls to the more interested side of the scale, then you can proceed more rapidly through the steps. In that case, the next step would be something like, you know, you answer the point in her message, say, cool, you know, that your sister came, you know, is she older or younger, whatever it is, take some point from her message, talk a little bit, answer her question, or say what you got up to, and then say, what are your plans for the next few days? She answers this, and then you've got the method to arrange the date, which we'll get to in a second. If she responds coldly, I would always suggest leaving it for 5-6 days, maybe a week, and then re-engaging and looking for the point where she becomes more friendly. By not replying and leaving it a while, you keep her thinking about you and wondering why you didn't, you know, go for the date. So she's more likely to invest more next time. On to the next message. You've asked, you know, what her plans are for the week, and then she's going to give you an indication of how busy or not she is. If your first meeting was really, really cool and, you know, you think that she'd be happy to meet you for a one-on-one date, you can go ahead and arrange that. You can say, why don't we go for a drink on Thursday? You know, you said you like cocktails, there's this cool place, blah, 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 and you arrange it like that. A good thing to include here is use a kind of sneaky technique called illusory choice, and you say, okay, let's meet at this place. When's good for you, 7 or 8 o'clock? So you're putting a question there that is something that doesn't really matter to you, that gives her some feeling of power in the interaction. So that's a little trick that you can use. Again, hopefully you've done all of this at the initial meeting and you won't need to do very much by text at all. But that's how I would play it. Pay close attention to her reactions, sense her receptivity. Don't ask too many questions in your messages. Don't make them too long or difficult to answer. Let her be more friendly than you, and that should put you in good stead in terms of getting responses and bridging that gap from the initial meeting to the first date. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon with another video.
Alright guys, so in this video I'm going to be talking about the difference between day game and night game. A lot of guys are either good at one or the other, and it's a shame because by understanding the differences between them you can be very good at both. So I'm going to run through real quick. We're going to jump from the daytime to the nighttime, give you some examples so that by the end of it you know how to behave, how to do things in the daytime versus how to do them in the nighttime. With the very first thing, indicators of interest. In the daytime, you're not going to get very many. You're going to be walking down the road, you'll try and make eye contact with girls, and in general, you won't get too many IOIs back. Something you can try is to be on the phone, be listening to music, be walking with a friend, especially a girl, be eating something, eating an apple, eating something like that, an ice cream, drinking from a big bottle. Actually, these things get you more attention and will get you more IOIs in the daytime. In most cases in the day, you get the IOI as you're passing someone, you can let them pass and then you can approach like we show you in the videos or like you'll see in day game domination. So that's IOIs in the daytime. In the nighttime, you will get more indicators of interest and more opportunity to create them. As you're walking around, people will pay more attention. When you come in a place, girls might look to see who's there. As you're walking around the venue, across the bar, you can have lots of opportunities where you can make eye contact before you approach. So that is a big difference from in the daytime. In fact, if you master IOIs, you can make 70 or 80% of your approaches warm rather than cold, meaning that you've already exchanged some eye contact and some non-verbal communications before you actually come up and approach. Second thing is when it comes to approaching and physical space. So in the daytime, you're probably looking at having a distance of about this much when you start an interaction. You're further than arm's length apart. If you're too close, it's quite strange for the girl in the daytime. So, yeah, exactly. So keeping in mind physical space. And normally you would actually be face to face. You wouldn't be side on. So in the daytime, that's how it goes when it comes to physical space and approaching. When it comes to approaching, you're going to be able to do it in a few different ways in the nighttime. You know, if she's at the bar, you can kind of come up next to her. You can, of course, approach directly. A lot of the traditional theory is that you should be a little bit side on instead of kind of facing direct towards her. And I agree with that, but in general, you don't have to have so much impact in your approach. You can be a little bit smoother and kind of sneak in there. And of course, you can be a lot more non-verbal, setting things up with your body language and non-verbal communications as you actually walk towards her or before you approach her. In the nighttime, the physical space stuff is very different. It's quite comfortable for us to be actually, you know, touching close side by side. Even with a complete stranger, this is completely normal. You know, if you're both standing at the bar, if you are talking to each other, you would be much closer, close enough to touch. You might be in a loud place, you're leaning in, blah, 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 talking in her ear like this. And in general, you're able to be a lot closer even before it's, you know, a romantic situation. So pretty much immediately, you're going to be able to get a lot closer. The third big difference is when it comes to touching or kino escalation. In the daytime, it's very common that I wouldn't actually touch a girl at all. I don't think, you know, I would do too many touches, even on the arm. There might be some moment where, you know, I pick something out about her clothes or her jewelry, but in general, I wouldn't actually try and do that. It's not so important in the daytime to escalate physically. It's more important that she's very comfortable. And unless there's some point where maybe you decide to go somewhere together and you walk her and you kind of put your hands on her back to lead her across the road or to open a door and to take her somewhere, in most cases you wouldn't have much physical contact in the daytime at all. When it comes to touching, you're going to see a lot more if done correctly. You might open and put the hand on the arm as you're opening her. You can use the front and the back of the hand to touch all the way along the side of the body. You might touch, you know, the small of her back. You might take her around the shoulder and talk about something in the venue. So in general, you've got a lot more touching. You're able to get a lot closer. Next big difference is when it comes to verbal versus non-verbal game. It's possible that this is maybe the biggest difference in what you should do, but in the daytime it's going to be a lot more centered on your verbal communication. We've already said that you haven't got much touching going on, but also you can't really have those moments where you're kind of just looking or you're dancing or you've got, you know, something where you've got something from the environment, you're not very close. So it is very verbally dependent. There's a lot of emphasis on the conversation. There can't be any lulls in the conversation because then she could walk away. So if your verbal game is not up to scratch, it's very good to kind of throw you in there in the daytime, in the deep end to make sure you've got what it takes. Conversations mustn't run dry, and the only thing that is non-verbal that really comes into it is having good eye contact. The verbal-non-verbal balance is, of course, very different in the nighttime. There's a lot more non-verbal stuff. It's a lot more about the eye contact. It's about the touching. You can dance. You can have a lot of time when there is no verbal communication, because actually in a noisy place, you want to communicate a lot through your moods. You know, if you're smiling, if you're enjoying the music, if you're moving, if you're dancing, if you're doing something, then you won't need to focus too much on the conversation. In general, in the beginning, it will be not so verbal, and then if you do want to talk, you might go to a more quiet place, the smoking area, or to sit somewhere to carry on a conversation. In the daytime, it is possible to have some subtle flirting, but girls, when they're, you know, in their lunch break from work and things like that, they're not drunk, you know, they're not in a bar, they're not usually dressed as sexy as Olia is today, so they're not in that kind of mood, you know, they're not in a sexual state. They're happy to be comfortable with someone and to spend some time, but to take the conversation to kind of sexual things, to be looking at her lips, to be, oh, you know, giving her sexual compliments and things, in the daytime is really not the place for it. In the nighttime, obviously, you can ramp things up a lot more. You're going to be standing close, so you're going to have more contact. You're going to have closer eye contact. And so things are going to be a lot more intimate than in the daytime. Also, the focus as things continue, with drinks involved, with her dressing more sexily, you're going to have more opportunity to take things down that road, whereas in the daytime, it's really not appropriate in most cases. Final point is when it comes to closing. In the daytime, the key is that you need to have a good conversation, usually 5 to 10 minutes. You need to talk about things that you both like to do, find some common points, find some dates and things that you can do together in the future, find out if possible her schedule, and in most cases you're just going for a solid number and setting up a date for that time. Or you're going for what we call the instant date, where I say something like, listen, I've got like 10 minutes, why don't we go for a coffee? There's a coffee place over there. And we go quickly for a coffee. So in the daytime, that's what closing would look like. And the key thing is to make it as solid as possible. If you're getting flaky numbers, then I suggest you go for those instant dates. If you're already getting good numbers, then you know what a solid number is and you can go for numbers. Finally, when it comes to closing, of course you can think about numbers, but in most of the cases you're going to want to escalate physically or take her somewhere. So you're going to go from escalating the touches to maybe kissing, dancing on the dance floor. You might invite her to eat something, you might invite her to an after party, and basically the goal would be to get her out of the place. In a lot of cases, the number close in the nighttime is only for situations where you think she wouldn't go with you or carry on things because she's with her friends, she's tired, she has to wake up early, she's got a flight in the morning or something along those lines. So forget about the numbers in most cases when it comes to the nighttime. So guys, those are the key differences between night and day game. If you had a weakness before, go out, make those changes, and I'm sure it will really help. Around this video, you're going to see a link to click and you'll be able to check out Day Game Domination. It's got infield footage. I'm very proud of it. It's going to show you everything you need live and in action, real girls in real situations, how it's all done. So check it out, click the link. And again, thanks for watching the video and I'll be in touch soon. Okay guys, so in this video I'm going to be showing you some really powerful stuff. It's all to do with day game and it's going to show you the 3 biggest mistakes and what you should be doing instead based on my years of training guys out in the streets, coffee shops and in various other daytime locations. Helping me in the video is going to be Olya. I'm going to be demonstrating a few things together with her and we're going to get started right away with the first very big thing. And that is the actual approach or the stop. So normally girls are walking in the street and guys stop them in the wrong way. So if Olya is walking and I wanted to stop her, I'm like, hey, excuse me. And I'm kind of behind her, I'm reaching for it, and she might give me a look, she might even slow down slightly, but in most cases she won't stop. And if I start training a guy on an afternoon and I get him to do some approaches without training, that is normally what will happen. 8 or 9 times out of 10, the girl will not stop. Sometimes if she's very bored or he, looks really cool for whatever reason, she might stop, but in most cases she won't. What he needs to do is something more like this. So if she's walking, he needs to get in front. Hey, excuse me, can I tell you something really quickly? And plant himself. So his feet should stay still. He shouldn't take any more steps backwards. He shouldn't even kind of lean. He needs to be very strong. And if she does take a couple more steps, it's okay. He just turns his head and then she'll stop and she'll face him. And the key thing is to stay rooted. When we get a guy to do that, then girls will stop 8 or 9 times out of 10, or even sometimes 10 times out of 10. So it's a dramatic difference. Just remember, get a little bit in front. Do not take any extra steps back. Do not lean back at all. Plant yourself strongly. You can use your hands in kind of a stopping gesture, and that will increase your chances of stopping. That's the very first thing. The second part where things tend to go wrong is that you're in the conversation and the girl suddenly, for whatever reason, remembers she needs to get somewhere, she needs to do something, or she just, has an objection at that moment and she wants to end the conversation. So you could say something like, I don't know, I'm busy, I need to go. And she starts walking and it's like, oh, okay, bye-bye, like that, and she's gone. So that's what guys will do if they haven't learned the next part of the puzzle. So what should you do? Olya, come back. What should you do in that situation? She says she needs to go or something, and this is the right way to do it. So I need to go.
I need to go.
Of course, before you do, let me just ask you something. Are you a student or are you working? So something like that. So you say just before you go, so it's saying, oh, sure, of course, but before you go, and you just ask another question. When you watch Day Game Domination, you'll see the link to it somewhere close to this video. You'll see many, many examples of infield footage where the girl says she needs to go, and then in the clip we say, hang on a minute, before you go, and then she ends up staying for, 20 minutes after that. So it works every time, and that is the second thing. Look for those objections and have that line ready. Oh yeah, of course, but before you go, and then any old question or statement will do. So that's the second big mistake that guys make. Final thing you need to remember when you're talking to girls in the daytime is there's a lot less margin for error in terms of boring moments. I'm going to take the sunglasses off for this because eye contact is also an important thing. If I'm talking to a girl in the daytime and there's some pause in the conversation and I'm like this, and I'm thinking about what to say, she will use that as an excuse to say she's got to go. If she was standing in a bar or even sitting somewhere in the daytime, like in a coffee shop, it's different. You need to do something quite big for her to make an escape. But if she's on the street and she's kind of going somewhere already, and you have these moments where you have an awkward silence, she's gonna go away. So if there is a pause, make sure you're holding eye contact and try and just keep the conversation flowing with everything that you can think of. Use statements, talk about, even the weather if you have to, and it's always better to say something even boring than say nothing at all, because if you've got those moments of silence, she'll be out of there. So hold good eye contact when there is a little pause, and try and have as few as possible by stacking the statements and by trying to encourage her to open up by giving her good eye contact and kind of nodding along and encouraging her to give fuller answers. So those are the three main things for kind of holding girls in your orbit in the daytime. To recap, the approach, stay planted. The second thing, if she has an objection she needs to go, say of course, but before you do, and go into another question or statement. And the final thing, avoid gaps in the conversation and keep good eye contact. That's it, guys. If you want to see those things in action, along with a whole lot more that shows you how to build attraction and everything else, check out Day Game Domination. The link will be somewhere on this page. Go through and you'll be able to watch us break down live infield videos. Thanks for watching, guys, and look out for another video soon. Hey guys, welcome to the video. Today I've got something very special because it's all about how to meet girls in bars and clubs. As you can see, we've taken over the whole nightclub. We've kicked out all of the guys and all of the ugly girls, and I'm going to be sharing my very best tips for how to go out to a bar, to a club, and be successful with girls. So make sure you watch to the very end because I'm going to be sharing a lot of my favorite stuff. So here we are, I'm with my good friend Alex, and it's actually quite a realistic situation because the person I've been out most with to bars and clubs is this man right here, Alex. Now, we're very different to the average guys, but we see a lot of the average guys when they're out, and they tend to kind of stand like that, and they're kind of, checking out where are the girls like that, looking around. They look quite creepy, they look quite bored, and if a girl walks past, they'll be kind of
like this, like
plotting and scheming about how to talk to the girl. And that's, maybe if she doesn't see it, you might think it's okay, but there's always other girls in the place. And even girls that are behind, they'll notice when guys are doing things that are very obvious. So me and Alex, we try and do things a little bit different and
stand out.
We're facing each other, we're talking, we're having fun, we're always smiling, we've always got a good vibe about us, we're joking, we might be making fun of people or something like that. Whatever it is, making jokes about different things, talking about what's going on. And if a girl is there, we don't pay too much attention to her. We notice her, but we don't pay too much attention. But we have this nice vibe between us. And what normally happens is when girls come and they're choosing a place to stand, they're not freaked out, by us. So they're happy to kind of stand by us at the bar. So we're normally surrounded by a bunch of girls even before we start doing anything. So guys, bear that in mind when you come into a place and you're thinking about how to behave when you're with your friends. Okay, so what I want to demonstrate here is, approachability of girls. So if a girl is single, she's going to behave in a certain way, and if she's got a boyfriend, she's a lesbian, or she's catching up with her friend that she hasn't seen for 10 years, she's going to behave a little bit differently. So these girls have positioned themselves close to the wall, so you can't kind of creep in there and talk to them. The girl on this side has her back turned, and there's very little space between them, and they're involved in an intimate conversation. So they're difficult to talk to. Girls standing like this, like I said, are less easy to approach. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. I'm going to show you how you could do it later. But if you're doing your first approach, if you're a little bit nervous, you probably want to start with something a little bit easier. At the other end of the scale, you've got girls that are kind of presenting themselves. They're more available. They're probably single. They want guys to talk to them. And they will be, facing outwards. They'll still be talking to each other, but they'll be looking around. A guy comes in there, a guy's walking there, and they'll kind of notice him. So they're aware of people in the room, they're looking out for new guys that are coming in, and they might hold eye contact, they might smile, and these would be the girls that would be more approachable. Like I said, it's up to you if you want to approach difficult girls or girls that are going to be more receptive, but start to be aware when you're kind of out and about, the girls that would be more and less approachable. So one of the pieces of advice that I always give to guys is they shouldn't just, stand in the whole place, in the same place the whole night. That's because you want an opportunity to walk around the bar, the club, to get a chance to see all of the girls that might be there, that you might want to talk to. But also, when you're walking around, you have lots of opportunities to start interactions. When you're passing someone, it's a natural situation to just notice something, to start a conversation, to cheers with them or whatever. And too many guys that I've been out with that haven't had, lots of training, they walk, when they're in a place, they walk very quickly, like they've got to get somewhere. So there's the pretty girls there, but they'll be walking through and they're just looking down or they're looking ahead. And they walk at such a pace that they don't have a chance to spark any situations with the girls. So even if they walk through and a girl was smiling at them and they might say, oh, I think that girl liked me, but the time it's happened, he's already way past. So it sounds really, really simple. But one of the major pieces of advice that I give guys is that when they're walking around a bar or a club, they walk slowly and they make eye contact with everyone. So they've got some time to catch the eyes of a girl and they're judging just from that few seconds of eye contact. Is she smiling? Is she receptive? Is she interested? If you have eye contact and immediately she looks away, it's a big difference to if you have that eye contact and she maybe smiles and she's a little bit shy, or she just holds the eye contact and smiles. If you've got one of those situations and you're walking slowly and you're getting that good eye contact, you could just say cheers, or you could just step in and say, hey, how's it going? And you say, oh, cool iPhone case, look at this, and have a look at that. And you find something that you can start the interaction with. If you're just racing around, you don't have the opportunity to do that. So very small point, but it should double the amount of attention and IOIs that you get if you just walk around smoothly and try and make eye contact with everyone as you walk through the bar. You're not holding it for long because you're walking and you're breaking it from one girl to the next, breaking to the side, so it doesn't look nervous even when you break eye contact. I always like to start an interaction where possible from a distance and non-verbally. It gives the chance to get an honest reaction from the girl, and it also deals with situations very well where you're not sure. There's a girl or maybe two girls and there's a guy and you're not sure if they're together, or there's a group of girls and you don't want to bust in there. And in situations like that, it's always good to start non-verbally. So I will try and get the attention of the girl, and once I've got her attention, I'll raise my drink like that. And if I haven't got a drink, I might wave or something like that, or I might just look at her in a way that generates a response, and I'm looking for a smile. If she smiles, I've then got the opportunity to go around and talk to her. If she's shy, I can judge it like that. And if she's, with this guy and she's got a boyfriend, then I'll know from her response, because she'll be a little bit like, oh, I don't want my boyfriend to see me looking at this guy, so I'm going to look away. So you can tell a lot just from, provoking that response without going all the way around to the other side of the bar and busting in on, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that are in a group. One of the things that I use to start interactions with girls is actually opening with a touch. And when girls are in this situation at a bar, a lot of guys, freak girls out. They can sometimes come like this, hello, hello, like that. And it's horrible. It doesn't feel nice when someone, hello, hello. Girls never like it. Or the guy kind of comes in, girls, and it's too close, it's too intense. So not a good way to do it. The way I would do it in this situation is to come in, and I'm going to use a very gentle touch on the shoulder. So I'm going to touch like here and say, hey guys, and then step back. So I come close and then step back. And the touch is very gentle. It's kind of a guiding touch, and it's the kind of touch your friend does, when he goes away and then comes back and he kind of touches you gently on the shoulder just to say he's there. So you can even do this. So when the girls are facing away, and you can come in and you could say something like, hey Maria, oh sorry, I thought you were my friend Maria. Anyway, I'm Richard, nice to meet you, like this. And you can use that because it's a very familiar touch, the kind of touch that a friend would do. It's a very light hand, barely touching, barely any weight, but she turns around with it because she feels it. And it's something that is a familiar touch in our lives that friends only do with us. So you can try that, it's opening with a touch. Right, so we've got some girls dancing now, not very enthusiastically, but you get the point. And if girls are on the dance floor, how do you approach them? So I'm chilling here, and the first thing that I would try and do, look like I'm enjoying dancing. So I can't kind of come to the girls like this and kind of creep in, and I'm not enjoying the music. I need to kind of match their mood. So the DJ's here, and I'm kind of facing the DJ, and I'm dancing like this as well. And then what I want to do is I want to get some girls' attention while I'm dancing. So if I'm interested in this girl, I want to be dancing, and then I kind of want to look and get her attention like that, and have some non-verbal communication with her to start with. And then I would go back to dancing like this. If it was this girl, I would want to be kind of facing over there, just dancing, but after a little while, I'm kind of just get her attention for a second and go back to dancing like that. And again, I'm looking for that response. You've got those few seconds where she can smile, or she can just look away in disgust. Usually it's something more in the middle towards the positive, but you're going to be dancing close to them, not focusing on them at all, not trying to be creepy and be close to them without enjoying the music, but trying to match their mood. And that's the first step. The second thing is that once you've got the positive response, you might want to come in and just say, hey, I'm Richard, and introduce yourself like that, what's your name, and like that, and just a very quick interaction, take their name, and then go back and be dancing from a distance, but more facing each other. And you want to see if she turns away from her friends a little bit and she starts to face you, and if she does, that's a good sign. But you haven't kept the pressure on, you're not trying to have a conversation on the dance floor, shouting, where you can't hear each other. You're just dancing like that, and you're looking for the eye contact, you're looking for that she's facing you. And then again, you can come in and you can say something a little bit, but better if you can just start dancing with her a little bit. And the way I would do it is I'd get closer and be dancing, and then I'd just present my hands like this, and I'm looking for her to take them, and then we just do this silly dance. So obviously you won't have my amazing dance moves, but you should be able to do something like this. A lot of girls like it when you spin them, so you can work that into it, where you just lift your hand up, and most girls know how to do it, and then you can go back to doing this. You don't want to let things get too intense, so you might, let her hands drop again and go back to just dancing at a distance. And then after a little while, you can come back in again, and you can start dancing again like this. And then once she's comfortable with you, this is something you wouldn't do immediately, but after a little while, you can take your hand and put it just at the back of her elbow and pull her hand so that she takes you here and you take her here, and now you're dancing much closer and much more intimately. When you're in a club and the music is pumping really hard, normally the dancing is quite fast, the dance floor is really noisy, so you have a few choices. At this stage, when you're kind of you've got a good connection with the girl and she's liking you, you can wait for the right moment. So girls are in heels, they get tired when they're dancing for too long. Also, sometimes the music changed and the track's not good, so you're kind of dancing and you're like, oh no, I hate this track. let's go get a drink, you know, and you say, let's go somewhere, let's go get a drink, let's go and smoke, and then you've got an opportunity to move her away from the dance floor to somewhere that is not so noisy, where you can have a conversation. If you stay on the dance floor, like I said, you start like this, you can get closer, you've got this eye contact, it can be nice and seductive, and you've got the opportunity to escalate from that point. If she's with her friends, you know, her friends might interrupt her sometime, but you can always dance, you know, join the group and be kind of with them and dancing together with them. That'll be fine if you're with a friend as well. But it's always good to start things non-verbally from a distance, smoothly come in, back off a bit, come in some more, sense how things are going, and then suggest you leave the dance floor or join the friends, stay there for a bit, escalate on the dance floor. Lots of different options, but the whole thing is not to have too much communication, keep it non-verbal, maybe just exchange names and nothing else, and wait until you go somewhere more quiet to continue the conversation. So something to remember is that girls always like to laugh and have fun, and there's not enough fun when they go out to bars and clubs. And Alex has some moves that always make them laugh and make them smile. You know, he does this Michael Jackson thing, and he shows girls that, and he does this twerking thing when he does that into them. And when he does this stuff, the girls always laugh, they respond well, and then he can just introduce himself. So if I'm walking, yeah, he does this, and the electrocution one you do as well. And the one where you actually get electrocuted. Bzzz, like that, he's getting electrocuted. So Alex,
Not in reality getting electrocuted.
Alex has all these moves where he's walking through, the music's playing, the girls are dancing, and then he's got, you know, 5, 10, 20 different moves that he'll do when the girls are dancing, having fun, that makes them smile and react well, and then right after that he turns deadly serious and introduces himself and has a conversation, and then starts being funny again. But remember, people want to be fun, so try stupid stuff. If it makes you smile and your friends laugh, then it's going to be something that would probably work on girls.